Welcome to Financial Clinic, your ultimate guide to achieving financial success. Proudly sponsored by NCBA Bank. Join Sally Limo as she expertly shares invaluable tips and insights designed to empower you in reaching both your personal, business, and financial goals with NCBA Bank. Your journey to a brighter financial future starts here.
NCBA. Go for it.
My name is Anne Derry. I head group sustainability for NCBA. What is sustainability? Sustainability basically in the business sense is looking at what are the opportunities which are to do with renewable energy, energy efficient solutions. When you look at climate smart agriculture for a country like ours that is prone to droughts, water storage solutions, there are people who are making money out of this business. But conversely, there are risks that attend sustainability, environmental risks, social risks. If you have to put up a business and you might end up displacing people, or there's the abuse of human rights. By the way, the abuse of human rights or the upholding of human rights is a sustainability issue. I like to tell people, think of sustainability through the English definition of the word, which is to be here for the future. So if you look at all those elements that touch on business that could impact your ability to be here in the future, then you're not sustainable. Or conversely, if you're doing those things correctly, then it means you're underwriting the viability and the long-term viability of your business. We have a lot of SMEs, fantastic businesses that are actually performing very well. Their returns tend to be in the hundreds of millions, but they tend to be mostly family-led, or they have a key man risk in the sense that there is the person who came up with this business, the originator of this business idea. Now, when this person transitions for whatever reason, they retire, or natural attrition, natural transitioning, what tends to happen to most of these businesses? They fall apart. Because the right governance structures are not put in place, succession was not put in place properly. And so as a result of that, that business is no longer sustainable. Who are our customers as a bank? Who are our customers as a group? We offer insurance solutions. And even who are the customers of our customers? Because our existence, our success lies in the success of our value chain. When our value chain is not as successful, where are we going to get our profits from? Where are we going to get our revenue from? How do we underwrite our own viability in the long term? Hi, my name is Anne Derry. I will be on the Financial Clinic on Family TV and Family Radio. Please join us.
Tuendele. NCBA. Go for it.
A very good morning to you wherever you are joining us this morning, the 4th day of June 2025, and being a Wednesday, you know what we do and how we do it. It's Matters Finances, and it is Financial Clinic, where we'll be discussing about entrepreneurship, turning sustainability into a profitable business. And I'm joined by an amazing panel of ladies, experts when it comes to that topic. They'll be taking us through it. So take your pen, your notebook, your iPad, whatever it is that you may want to use to just take down notes, because we're going to learn together, as I always say. And remember to join us on our socials. 20316, our SMS line, 0786316316 is our WhatsApp line. Just share your comments, questions, or even compliments to my beautiful panel. My name is Sally Limo, and I welcome you to today's show. Welcome, ladies. Good to see you both. I'll start with you, Esther, to introduce yourself. Then we go to Anne.
Great. My name is Esther Mutuma. I am the founder and the CEO of Boreka Group.
Okay. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Anne.
Hi, my name is Anne Derry. I head sustainability for the NCBA Group.
Yes. Now, and I think I'll just start with you straight to the point. Briefly, just describe to us your role at NCBA as the head of sustainability.
Wow, my role is diverse, but basically, in a nutshell, it's to help the business, or it's to work with the business to embrace sustainable business practices. What does that mean? Looking at sustainability from an opportunities perspective. If you think about it from the perspective of the business, there's renewable energy opportunities, energy efficiency.
Right.
If you look at climate smart agriculture, ecotourism, circularity, I mean, it's a whole gamut of businesses, new businesses that are emerging as a result of sustainability. Okay. But then look at it also from the flip side, which is the risks. So we recently had floods, and when you look at those floods, they impacted like mortgages, they impacted people's homes, infrastructure, they hindered the ability of people to access their operations. So from that perspective, you realize that climate related events or even social events, we recently had COVID, the pandemic, all these things have a direct business impact. And so that's the role that we play as sustainability. I like to think of sustainability as the role that comes in, it's the conscience of the business. Because, you know, sustainability is about doing good business because it is good business.
Okay, I love that. Sustainability is the conscience of business. Fantastic. Esther, Boreka, tell us about Boreka. How did you get yourself to establish this amazing, you know, business?
Great.
Yeah.
So Boreka is, we call it woman-led, because I'm the woman. But it's a social business.
Okay.
And like Anna's correctly put it, sustainability is not up for discussion. It's either we're sustainable or we're not. And the way we look at things from Boreka is how can we apply land use management principles that can help us be better stewards of our environment, because at the end of the day, businesses cannot run when we have floods, we have droughts, we have calamities left, right, and center. So consciously we thought to ourselves, as Boreka, what role do we want to play? And in our environment, a lot of our people are impacted by climate change related catastrophes. When you think about droughts, when you think about floods, it's your local farmer that gets affected. It's their crops that get washed away by the floods, or it's their food that doesn't grow because of the drought. And so we consciously made a promise to ourselves that we were going to focus on land use management, where we are creating carbon sinks by planting trees to try and solve the problem, be part of the solution to the problem, because we believe nobody is coming to save us unless we actually do take action. So Boreka is about execution and implementation of climate change action plans that can be measurable, that we can track, and that we can say, hey, look, this is what we are doing about climate change.
Okay. Back to NCBA. What inspired NCBA to just, you know, have this sustainability agenda on?
Like I said, doing good business is good business. You either do the right thing or you perish. So if I may start from the perspective of, you know, traditionally sustainability has been viewed as something that affects other people. So we are big businesses, you know, but these big businesses rely on, for example, if you look at the bank, we rely on our customers' finances, their savings, which we then on lend to other clients, right? Now, the client's ability to save is incumbent or dependent on their spending power. It's dependent on their income, right? Now, when you have, for example, a drought, this drought brings about inflation. Inflation impacts your spending power. How are you going to save? If, on the other hand, like I said, you've got floods that are impacting our mortgages, are impacting infrastructure, we end up with bad books or with bad loans. So from that perspective, it becomes critical, it's becoming increasingly clear that where traditionally we've seen sustainability, even almost like, you know, traditionally the gateway to sustainability into the corporate world has been philanthropy. Now it's becoming increasingly clear that it's a strategic business imperative because it has a direct impact on the bottom line. So why are we doing this? We have our stakeholders who are calling upon us. For example, and look at the environmental aspects. We no longer can just work with clients who degrade the environment with impunity. We have to work with them to do the right thing. Our customers, our even non-customers, the community we are under heightened scrutiny as the corporate world, and we are being told by our various stakeholders. Our customers are telling us, do sustainable business, offer us sustainable solutions, do business in the right way, or we flee. Our employees are telling us, we want to work for a conscientious ethical business.
Right.
The government is looking at us and saying, we need you to be thought leaders. We need you to design solutions that place us on the global map. We also need you to pay your taxes as you should.
Right.
The regulators. So every single person, and critically future generations. So, traditionally we've been in a situation where leaders have had the liberty of kicking the can down the road.
Right.
You don't have to do the right thing because you can make it somebody else's problem. But we have regulations that are coming in place. Like I said, our stakeholders have, the spotlight is now squarely on us.
Yeah.
You do the right thing, even if you do the wrong thing, even if it doesn't catch up with you now, it is guaranteed that it's going to catch up with you in the medium term. We may not even get to the long term.
Yeah. And for sure, you're doing a great job with the spotlight on you. I can attest to that. I see that. Esther, partnership with NCBA, how did it come along, and what synergies have emerged from just partnering with NCBA Bank?
Great. So way back in 2022, actually, the group managing director wrote a really nice article on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I'm a big fan of following thought leaders like himself. And I thought to myself, this sounds very good. Coming from the corporate world, we are so used to CSR, we are so used to people doing things for the sake, but I could read between the lines that there was commitment. And the next thing I did was say to my advisory board, why don't you talk to NCBA? They seem like they've got this figured out. They would want to go down the path of sustainability. Maybe we should approach them. And approach we did. And what I liked about the conversations from the very word go that were then led by one of the colleagues was the clarity with which they were speaking about what they wanted to achieve.
Right.
And for me, being an ex-banker, it was an easy conversation because I said to them, I love what you're thinking about, but to be honest, you guys are bankers. You cannot do this and do it effectively. Could you think about strategic partnerships that can allow you implement the agenda that you want to achieve, but do so in a way that is measurable? Because we've seen a lot of projects in this country where people talk about, we are going to plant these millions of trees. And they do it and they spend a lot of money, they have a budget for it. You come back 2-3 years down the line, you ask them where are the trees. They have nothing to show for it. They don't even know who planted or where they were planted. And we were very intentional about saying, if this partnership is going to work, we would love to make sure that it's measurable. So we are going to adopt all the technologies that we can. We are going to do everything that we can. And because after banking, I went into the social entrepreneurship space and I'd been planting trees for 12 years, I was clear in my mind what that would look like. So we negotiated and discussed and eventually agreed, okay, let's try a pilot and see whether what Esther you're talking about is actually doable. And so we launched the very first pilot in 2023, which was a great success.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I think there's something NCBA is doing about tree planting, a project like that. Could you speak to that?
Fantastic. So I want to take a step back and begin with the fact that this group, which is I don't know whether you know that it's Africa's largest by customer base, has been in the tree planting business, and I say that with a caveat because Esther puts it very correctly that that is not our core business. So through strategic partnerships, we've been planting trees, and we had planted around 7 million. Then in August 2023, we launched what we call Change the Story, as you can see on my T-shirt. And Change the Story, it's apt. It's really our sustainability strategy. Why Change the Story? Because the sustainability conversation has been one where, like I said, it's philanthropy. It's at the periphery. Sustainability is expensive. It's a cost center. Why do we need to do this? And as you can see, even globally, there's a whole conversation around why do we need to embrace sustainability. Yet it's ironic that in the past 10 years since the Paris Agreement came into force, every year has been the hottest ever. Yet the Paris Agreement is designed to actually do the opposite. So if we are not, if we do not take due notice of that and urgently address the issue of global warming, we are handing our children a poison chalice. And so as a group, we said to ourselves, we've already done 7 million in the past with, without too much focus. There was no per se strategy. So when we launched our Change the Story strategy, which is designed around the environmental social governance framework, our first commitment of 15 commitments is we are going to grow 10 million. So not just planting, as Esther rightly puts it. There is planting and there's growing. The two are not necessarily the same thing. And so we're going to grow 10 million trees by 2030. And the purpose of this is, one, to even just, so there is greening the country, because, you know, we do need rains to be more predictable. We do need to be a food secure country. Then number two, there is also sequestering our own carbon emissions. Remember, we have our own operations where we have the carbon emissions that attend our own operations, but more critically, as a financial institution, it is the value chain emissions that are really where the rubber meets the road. The ones that are as a result of our suppliers and our clients, investments that we make in them. So we have that partnership with like Boreka, and basically for us, growing trees is something that we're very committed to. I'm glad that Esther brings up the group managing director. He is our principal tree hugger, very big on planting and growing trees.
Okay, fantastic. Now, you work with communities, Esther, right? So how have you been able to partner with NCBA and impacted different communities in different parts of the country? And what are some of those initiatives that you work together?
Great. So since 2023, after the pilot, we agreed that we liked the model mutually. And so we agreed to try and expand into other areas. And the partnership with communities is embedded in behavior change. And you can imagine, Sally, behavior change takes a long time. And behavior change requires some level of input from a training and capacity building perspective. So one of the things that we are very keen about, and which we love about NCBA's support, is that they're willing to support us to bring about the knowledge and awareness to the communities, because then they become the change agents without us having to push them. So we have a very robust internal curriculum that we use to train the communities. So we do mobilization, and whoever is willing to come on board after mobilization is actually trained. It's a whole course that touches on climate change and climate change awareness. And once the guys are trained, there's also the element of civil cultural practices. So what do you do when you left the training? What do you go home and do? And then, of course, now we provide them with the seedlings, because again, we don't want a situation where we trained people and then they had nothing to actually go action on. So there's actually nothing to follow up, or actually nothing to measure. So the element that has really supported the work that we've done in Kitui, and now we have expanded this year to Kwale. In fact, we are launching a partnership tomorrow in Kwale.
Oh, wow.
Yes, the what has really helped this work is a training program, and a lot of times, a lot of businesses are not willing to invest in things that are not tangible. They will give you money and say, okay, go and plant 100,000 trees, and you tell them, I need a budget for training. They're like, what is that? What does that? But unlike other businesses, NCBA is very, very conscious of making sure that this program works. And they see the value in the training, because when they did their audit, they could see how the farmers love the trees, they are committed to the project. And so it's become a win-win for us, because we also feel that we are getting somewhere with the communities because of the ownership of the program. So there's a very high level of ownership because of the training. And for us now, expansion can be based on the tenants that have been created. We have the infrastructure to actually scale the business.
So for tomorrow, and for tomorrow is World Environmental Day, isn't it?
Yes.
So what is NCBA doing about that tomorrow? Now that I can hear you in Kwale, the coastal part of the country. What's going on?
So tomorrow is two-pronged. So number one, the theme of tomorrow is really about eliminating plastics. But then also, you cannot take away the fact that at the core of the climate change agenda, trees, like she said, are the biggest, are some of the greatest forests, some of the greatest carbon sinks, and some of the highest sequesters of carbon are actually mangroves. And so we are in partnership with Boreka, going to be planting, or to kick off, at 25,000
mangrove seedling drive with Kwale farmers. But then in addition to that, we have on board a client of ours and a partner who is also in the plastic and recycling business, who will come in and just talk about plastics and what they do with the recycling. And one of the core issues is really to also see motivation and see how they can work with the community, because plastic is everywhere. And so basically that's at the heart of what we are doing. But then we're also launching 2 things tomorrow internally. So the first thing we have is we have 100 branches. We just commissioned our 100th branch within the country, and so the business has determined or elected to provide every one of those branches with 1,000 seedlings. And it's for them to decide whether to provide them to their clients or to identify community projects that they want to invest in, again in partnership with clients. Really it's for them to use as they see fit, but the underlying factor or the underpinning that is that ensure that it is a project that we can monitor, because we need to be able to guarantee that these seedlings will grow. And then number 2, as part of the internal conversation, when we have engagements within the group, one of the things that strikes me most is how many trees individuals have planted on their own motion. And so you'll find people who've planted 5,000 trees on their own, for their own, whether it's for commercial purposes or for their recreating family trees. Forests, you'll hear somebody saying that my grandfather this was their legacy forests. And I know for many of us growing up, we used to have a forest within the farm. And then you hear that there's a lot of pride and passion that goes towards that passion project. And so we are creating a database internally. We want to roll it out from next week to collect data from employees on a voluntary basis to get to know how many trees. So when we say about 10 million that the corporate has planted and grown, how many are our employees also planting and growing? And then how can we incentivize them to do more? How can we reward them for this initiative that they've taken? And then to say that as NCBA Group, there is what we've planted, but then there is also what our ecosystem has contributed, and taking great pride in that. Like I said, our GMD is very big on tree planting and growing. So that's what some of what we'll be looking at.
Wow, and you know, because we're speaking matters green businesses, for example, what strategies as NCBA do you have to just support businesses that have gone green and also profitable, you know, when it comes to sustainability?
Yes. So one of the things about sustainability that we are as keen on as a group is the business case for sustainability. Like I said, it's always been viewed as a cost center, so it's important for us to make it clear that there is an actual solid business case. So today, we through Asset Finance, you know, and we are the country's, I think, market leader in Asset Finance. We are driving solar financing hard, and it's through outright purchase or leasing. We have a pipeline of requests that is in the thousands. I kid you not.
Wow!
So people who've come in and they've said, I want you to talk to me about solar solutions. I want to understand how you can finance me to transition to solar, or even transition part of my energy needs to solar. And we formed partnerships with various solar providers to just make it easier for our clients, basically offering them a one-stop shop sort of solution. Number 2, we also have guarantee scheme. So we have a guarantee scheme with the African Guarantee Fund. And why this is important is one of the reasons why sustainable businesses, the eco businesses especially, find it difficult to access capital from banks is because of collateral. So I'll give an example. Let me go back to that solar. So for the longest time, one of the issues that has attended the solar space, for example, is the question that will be asked: if a client, God forbid, defaulted on their payment, so if you sell somebody a vehicle and they default on the vehicle, you repossess the vehicle. It's not what we like doing as a bank, but it's the last resort. You repossess it, you sell it. If a mortgage doesn't work out properly, you repossess it, you sell the house. Now with solar panels, what are you going to do with them? So you've repossessed them. Is there a second-hand market for them? Because, you know, ultimately we want to recover the investment the bank made. And so with these guarantee funds schemes, for example, they enable us to de-risk these sustainable businesses,
Okay.
so that then the collateral that is required of you is slightly less. Because what would happen then is we'll have to ask you, yes, you need us to help you install your solar business,
Yeah.
your solar panels, or you need to set up your e-vehicle, charging stations. That's great.
You're right.
But can you offer us commensurate collateral security, like your land title, which is possibly tied up because you're in business, tied up in many other facilities. So those are some of the things we're doing. We're also getting into partnerships. We're getting into partnerships with DFIs, partnerships with organizations that offer technical assistance, to just reach out. For example, we have a drive where we've been talking to women groups and businesses, and just basically the part of that is we're looking at how do we upscale them, how do we make their businesses better, because remember, the better the business becomes, the more it grows, the better it is for everybody. It's shared value, shared prosperity, shared growth.
Right.
We all benefit from it. So those are some of the things we're looking at with respect to support for the sustainable businesses within sustainability.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we cannot talk about all this without talking matters digital, Esther, So how then does Boreka leverage on digital tools to just ensure that they support communities in adopting nature solutions or natural solutions for that matter?
Yep. It's actually a big component of the work that we do. And the way we like to describe ourselves is that we are technology driven, meaning that the available technology right now can allow us to do a lot more than we could have done 5-10 years ago.
Right.
I give you an example to drive the point home. A few years ago, you couldn't easily access open source data for remote sensing to track how your trees are growing, or even to map what you're doing. Today, there's so much technology around inventory management. For instance, right now people can use drones to map areas of where the trees were grown, and there's actually technology to literally measure the tree size using just drone technology. And for us, that makes a huge difference. Because what cannot be measured cannot be managed. But the minute you're able to measure what it is that you're doing, today we plant 100,000 trees and we actually know how much carbon they've sequestered in 2-3 years or 4 years, then we have a business. There's something we can take to the marketplace. That's one of the aspects. The other aspect, which is big on our end, is the data collection. Again, for managing operations, you really need a lot of robust data. You need both baseline data, because you need to understand also where did you start. Because in the carbon conversations especially, you have to demonstrate something we call additionality. And you cannot have additionality when you don't have a baseline. So data is a big one, and there are a lot of data that we hold. We've got to find technological ways to actually be able to sustain it and hold it. For instance, with NCBA support, we've trained over 1,000 farmers. Overall, it's almost in the 2,000 number, but just with the NCBA partnership, we've done 850 farmers in Kitui, and very recently 236 actually just got those numbers yesterday for Kwale. So we've already hit 1,000 farmers. You can imagine how much data you need to hold, both for baseline in terms of like the biodata, the farms data itself, the location, the geotagging. So there's a lot of data that goes into the work for us to be able to actually measure and actually be able to say, yes, we can prove that this is how much carbon we've sequestered with working with the communities and with the farmers. So technology for me has really opened up the conversation, because a few years ago, to be able to do your mapping or your survey, oh my goodness, it would be a very, very expensive affair. You need thousands of people running around trying to measure one tree at a time. You can imagine at scale, if you're going to measure 1 million trees, how much effort you need to put in. So technology is a big one, and we're actually at the forefront of leading that conversation. I recently was involved in a week-long meeting organized by the FAO, UN FAO, bringing together all stakeholders in the forestry sector, and they're really trying to focus on how do we do our monitoring and evaluation of the inventory for forest and for restoration work that's going on in the country. And we are really happy as Boreka to be part of the guys that are providing information on, hey guys, this is how we are doing it, this is what it costs. This is, how much effort is required. And a lot of technologies have been developed, a lot of ways to integrate the data that's being collected. Today, everybody's collecting data.
Right.
If you think about it from both government, private sector, all stakeholders, everybody wants data, and data is the new oil. So for us to be able to actually own that data in the first place is a huge win,
Right.
and we are hoping to leverage that in future for conversations around trading and helping companies offset their carbon footprint.
Fantastic, awesome.
Yeah.
And I just love what you said. What cannot be measured cannot be managed. And that takes us to our first break, and actually the first break on this show.
Kote nchini matumaini, tujitahidi, tujivunie, tuendelee mbele, twende mbele, 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 tuendelee. Twende mbele, 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 twende mbele, tuendelee. Mbele, Kenya, twende mbele,
Kenya,
tuendelee.
twende mbele. NCBA, go for it.
Welcome back. Amazing song right there, and amazing tips on matter sustainability, the green energy, managing, like now we're going to be talking about how to there's a question, ladies, I think we've seen it on plastics. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. There's so much we're learning this morning. So if you want to learn more about eco-entrepreneurship and sustainability, the green energy, matter solar, this is the platform to be on. So tune in, talk to us on 20316, SMS line 0786316316 is our WhatsApp line. Keep sending in those questions, the feedback. We are really, really grateful for the feedback. And there's a question. Hi, ladies. My question is to the lady from Boreka. What role does policy play in empowering women within the eco-entrepreneurship space, Esther? And to NCBA, do you offer some guidance for upcoming businesses or startups on eco-enterprise on matter sustainability? That will be answered by Anne. So I think, Esther, you can take the first question on matters policy.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so it's a very important question. First of all, because we know when women prosper, communities do prosper.
Absolutely.
And what has happened naturally within the sustainability space from a global perspective is there's been a lot of focus on the gender lens to sustainability.
Okay.
And policy has trickled down from top level, globally, with a lot of focus on gender mainstreaming. For all carbon-related projects, you actually must have and demonstrate gender mainstreaming in your projects.
Okay.
And I'm also happy that as a country, with the Climate Change Act, we've incorporated and adopted a lot of the global policies. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We are kind of riding on what's already established and existing. And alongside policy and empowerment for women is things to do with, even at an organization level, equality. Are you giving women the same chance you're giving to the men in the work that you do? And more importantly, on the ground. And this is a critical point, Sally, because in our community, we know land is not owned by the women.
Yes.
A lot of the times it's the men that own the land. They're the ones who are holding on to the title deed. And remember, we also need to have permission from the men for the women to participate in the project. So we take it very seriously at Boreka, and we are also internally always analyzing what can we do to make it a lot easier for the gender conversation within the organization, but also with the stakeholders and communities. So it's very close to our hearts, and we are always also participating in policy debates. When there are conversations to change certain areas in policy, we are always at the forefront. We are always making sure that the voice of the many is being heard.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sure that has answered this person's question. And then there's to NCBA, do you offer some guidance for upcoming businesses or startups?
As any good organization, and especially a financial institution, we recognize that our pipeline starts. Every business must start from somewhere. And so whilst different stages of businesses have different risks, our work is not to be stopped by those risks, is to identify ways of mitigating them. So when we look at startups, for example, and not just from the eco side, the green side, but just generally, we partner with them. So our work is to partner with an organization, for example, MSMEs and the startups, to offer them guidance, and through relationship management, through our branch and sales teams, offer guidance, help you grow along, to develop your business to the point where it's solid enough and stands on its own 2 feet. And here we're talking about offering guidance around bookkeeping, around how to market, around not just marketing, but also how to go to access markets. But it's basically how do we work together to help your business become better. Alongside that is also now we are layering now the sustainability elements, and some of them because they're regulatory. The regulatory requirements, and some of them also because they make good business sense. And then when you think about the fact that we have new spaces, like we have the circular economy space, which is basically recycling. So whether we are dealing with recycling of plastics, whether we are dealing with with recycling of whether furniture that deals with recycling materials, we have to work with these businesses to make them better. So yes, we do work with these businesses. I had earlier mentioned the de-risking facilities, but of course there are procedures and guidelines with respect to how we approach that. The history of the business determines at what point you get a loan, what kind of loan you get. But also remember something: we are the business. We are the home of Mshwari, and Mshwari is actually supporting very many startup businesses in this country. So we grow. We have a solution for every business all the way to the corporate business. So yes, we are happy to discuss this further with anybody that's willing to come to us.
Fantastic. And I think you've already answered some. There was a question on plastics, and I'm glad that you already responded to that in terms of what are the solutions to curb this menace of plastic, and we've actually responded to it very well right there. So someone asked, hello Sally, where exactly is the event happening in Kwale? I love planting trees and would love to be part of it. Esther?
So it's happening in an area called Kona ya Chale. And because of the theme of the World Environment Day this year, we're going to start with an activity that's plastic related, which is going to be a cleanup. It's been organized by NEMA. NEMA is authorized in the country to lead environmental days like the World Environment Day, because of course of the nature of their mandates. So we're going to be working with them in the morning to do some cleanup on the plastic pollution, and then we shall head out to the planting of the mangroves.
So this person can start by cleaning the plastics with you, and then the trees. So there you are, and you've mentioned the area as well where that will be happening. I'm so excited. I'm super excited. And thank you so much for the great feedback interaction that you're giving us right here on our socials. Someone is saying most schools have unutilized land, and NCBA should consider starting tree planting and maintenance clubs in schools, because it's one thing to plant a tree and another to take care of it. I think that's why I say growing. This will also inform future change, because these kids will grow up understanding the value of our environment. Do you agree with that?
Perfect. We have the Green Schools program. And it aligns with this perfectly. I think I don't need to belabor what I wish I could get the name. Is it Edwin?
Edwin.
Yes, what Edwin is saying. Through the Green Schools program, basically what we're doing is identifying schools, planting trees within those schools. I saw somebody comment about fruit trees. Yes, it's a mix. It's a mix of fruit trees, exotic, indigenous, the gamut. And the reason for this is multi-pronged. One, when the fruit trees grow, they provide nutrition. Number two, it's also a learning. It's a learning platform. Because remember, we work with those children to plant those trees, and part of the process is to teach them about what tree they're planting and the benefits of the same. And it can also be a tool for their science lessons. And then it provides shade, it's beauty. I mean, if you think about it, it's a whole solution. But critically, which is what I agree with also Edwin a lot on, is that we are inculcating a culture of sustainability. We want to catch them when they're still young. Because once we catch them when they're young, this becomes second nature to them.
NCBA always ahead of the game. Fantastic, right there. So, I wouldn't want us to finish without speaking to carbon credits. Would you want to say something about carbon credits and effects, long-lasting effects on environmental and the social, economic benefits of it?
Great. Yes, I would love to say something about that, because it's always the elephant in the room. It's also a very misunderstood sometimes concept. So basically the concept of trading carbon credits came about many years ago with the Kyoto Protocol way back in the 90s. And it was a concept that was supposed to push the agenda for sustainability, create incentives to allow people to participate in a marketplace, because every time there is something in it for someone, then there's an incentive naturally for people to do stuff. Now, unfortunately, the carbon credits conversation is also very politically motivated at times, because it depends on who's driving it, who are the drivers of the conversation. However, the market now has demonstrated some stability in terms of, regardless of what happens, there is some level of agreement and consensus amongst the players that it's a valid tool to actually participate in creating sustainable solutions for the world. So today we have airlines under the COSIA agreement, for instance, requiring that you must have some level of offset of your carbon footprint, and it's a law issue, it's a tax, so you cannot actually run away from it. And that kind of helps the carbon markets to stay steady. Then we have governments where they take it up and decide, okay, we are going to be requiring that you have to do this as a manufacturer. A good case example I like to use is Japan. They're very big on manufacturing. We all drive, many of us drive Toyotas. They're coming from Japan. Japan as a country is very strong on making sure that there's some compliance in the offsets and so on. And those are the conversations that allow the carbon credits conversation to keep going. However, like any other thing, it's prone to risks. It's prone to market dynamics of pricing, supply, demand, a lot of challenges. And the way we like to look at it at Boreka is that it's a good to have. It's not a must-have. Because the conservation conversation is so big. Carbon credits is just one of the many benefits.
One of the many.
Exactly. So we don't want to get caught up in, it's all about carbon credits. It's the bigger picture. Besides carbon credits, what else? What else can we get out of this conservation efforts?
Fantastic. And because of time, because I want us to cover as much as possible, we have probably 3 minutes or less left. But I can see someone who's saying, how do we get the contact of this team? And for sure, we'll get back to you with, their contacts. And then, Anne, probably this will be your party shot or your final thoughts as we wrap up. Most people think that sustainability is expensive and even unprofitable. What is your take on that?
It's expensive not to be sustainable, both in the short and long term. When you look at your operations, so from an operations perspective internally, not just operations, when you look at the environmental, social and governance issues, when they're looking at labor practices, how we are paying our own employees, how we are upholding human rights, how our facilities are enabling our various stakeholders to live a dignified life. That is one thing. And then also look at our solutions.
Right.
Are we able to support our customers when they come to us? Are we paying taxes as we should? You know, all these things are sustainability, not just climate related issues.
Okay.
Now flip that externally also. When you think about the opportunities, like I said, if you're missing out on those opportunities, if you're not supporting solar, we're not supporting the uptake of e-vehicles, we're not supporting climate smart agriculture, I think for me there's a huge opportunity there for us as a business, as a country, to be sustainable, to sustainably provide for ourselves. If you look at Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Israel, these are drier countries than us, but they're using technology and they are able to not only produce food for themselves, but they're also exporting it.
Right.
And these are critical partners for us. But then when you also look at the risks as well, those risks can ground your business to a halt. We've seen situations where the government has intervened or regulators have intervened and shut down operations because of ESG issues, whether it was environment or community displacements. We've seen communities rise up and stop businesses from being established. We've seen governance issues crippling businesses. So if you do not embrace sustainability, the truth of the matter is you will not be here in the medium to long term.
Okay, I think we're going to end it right there. Perfectly said. Thank you so much, ladies, for making time to be here, for enlightening us. Myself, I was really taking notes. I've learned quite a bit from the both of you. Asanteni sana. And to you, my viewer and listener, wherever you are this morning, I just want to say a big thank you to you for your feedback, the interactions that you've had with us on all our, social platforms. We want to say asante sana. And remember, tomorrow, is World Environmental Day. Make sure you plant a tree. Just even if it's just for yourself, in your organization, for whatever reason, plant a tree and make a difference. And also a special thanks to our partners who have enabled us to bring you, this amazing conversation like this, impactful for the last 25 years. And if you want to be part of this community, then you can do that by sending the word partner to 20316 SMS line or 0786316316. That's our WhatsApp line. Send the word partner and our team will reach out to you. And also if you want to be support us in any way, you can do that on paybill number 316316. The account number will be your telephone number. God bless you and keep you. See you again tomorrow on Matters Relationship. Thank you and bye for now.